You have $780 million and nobody knows. Not your neighbors, not your barber, not the woman at the gas station who's rung you up every Friday for 5 years and knows you always take the receipt. You're not hiding. You're just unremarkable on purpose. While everyone else is out here buying the costume of wealth, you quietly became the thing itself. And the strangest part is that the number arrived on a Tuesday, in a text message from your bookkeeper. No emoji, no exclamation point. Just you standing in the checkout line at a feed store trying to decide between two sizes of chain link fencing. This is what $780 million actually looks like. It starts with a self-storage lot behind a strip mall. Not a revelation, not a plan, just an ordinary afternoon somewhere between your shift ending and the drive home when you notice a hand-painted units available sign that's been leaning against the same fence post for what looks like months. Instead of driving past it, you stop. You think, who actually owns this place? You go home and find out. It takes about an hour of digging, which is an hour longer than most people would spend. What you find is a semi-retired guy running 40 units on a half-acre lot, clearing somewhere between $900 and $2,400 a month after taxes and upkeep. Not glamorous, barely interesting. But you do the math, and the math does something to you. If 40 units net roughly $1,600 a month, and you could get to 100 units in the right location, you're looking at $4,000 a month coming in whether you show up or not. The money isn't the point yet. What gets you is the architecture. The units don't need you. They just sit there behind a chain link fence solving a small, boring problem for strangers, and they pay you every month regardless. You spend $6,500 on your first stake, a minority buy-in on 12 units from an owner looking to retire early. The first month nets you $310. Your cousin's Christmas bonus was bigger than that. Nobody applauds. Nobody even knows. You sit with the number on a Sunday night and feel something that isn't pride and isn't disappointment. It's quieter than both. But you don't quit because you're not looking at the $310. You're looking at what it proves, so you buy a second stake, then a third. You start looking at car washes the way you look at storage lots. Not as a customer, but as someone studying the ownership layer underneath. You learn a self-serve car wash with 6 bays off a state highway can pull $70,000 to $180,000 a year, and that the ones that fail usually fail from neglect, not demand. People wash cars in a recession. They wash cars when gas is $2 and when it's $5. You buy your first car wash for $61,000 in a mill town in Pennsylvania. The equipment is dated but working. The lease has 8 years left. The previous owner, a man named Herb, who'd run it since 1994 out of a paper ledger, hands it over with a shrug. Year 1 nets $44,000. You don't celebrate. You use it as the down payment on the next thing. This is the part nobody sees. Not the scaling, not the spreadsheet, not the compounding of 9 years of quiet decisions. Just someone doing arithmetic at a kitchen table on a Sunday night. A Tuesday observation that became a Wednesday question that became a Thursday purchase that became something nobody has a word for yet. Your bookkeeper's name is Renata. She's kept books for small operators for 22 years. She has seen chaotic LLCs, shoebox receipts, restaurant owners who paid cash out of the register. She doesn't impress easily. She sits across from you at a card table in the back office of your second car wash. You hand her a folder. She reads slowly. Then she looks up and says, "This might be the most boring portfolio I've ever audited." She means it as a mild jab. You take it as the highest compliment you've ever received. Because that's exactly what you set out to build. Here's what the folder holds. 3 self-serve car washes across 2 states, pulling roughly $340,000 a year combined, netting around $135,000 after equipment, water, and part-time labor. 2 long-term storage lots you bought at a county surplus auction, the kind held on Wednesday mornings that almost nobody attends. You paid $22,000 for the first, $38,500 for the second. Together, they clear $61,000 a year, and you don't manage them day to day. A local property manager handles it, and a deposit shows up monthly. 4 cell tower ground leases on parcels you picked up cheap in rural Kentucky and West Virginia, each paying $650 to $1,100 a month with built-in escalators over 15-year terms. Some months you forget you own them. And then there's the commercial pest control company you bought 18 months ago from a retiring owner named Walt, who'd built it over 28 years into something that mostly ran on momentum. 9 contracted clients, 2 hospital systems, annual revenue north of $1.3 million, thin but dependable margins. Renata asks if you're planning to pivot into something with more upside. Crypto, maybe multifamily real estate. You tell her no. She nods like she expected it and doesn't fully get it. What she doesn't see is the logic underneath the boredom. Every asset in that folder solves a need that doesn't disappear. People store their extra stuff. People wash their cars. Buildings get pests. Cell signal has to travel through a tower whether the economy is up or down. There's no app disrupting a storage fence. Nobody's venture backing their way past a cell lease. That's the whole point. The flashy operators, the ones fundraising, posting portfolio screenshots, chasing multiple expansion, they're playing in arenas where being interesting is the entry fee, where one bad quarter can undo 3 good years. You are not in those arenas. You are deliberately, almost stubbornly in the Wednesday morning auction arenas, the ones nobody's watching that keep running quietly long after the interesting thing down the street has shut its doors. Renata closes the folder and says she'll have the quarterly report by Friday. You thank her and drive home in your 2018 Ford Ranger with 88,000 miles and a dented tailgate you've meant to fix for over a year. You don't fix it. There's a guy at the Chamber of Commerce mixer. You've seen the type. He's wearing a $290 quarter zip he mentions twice. He drives a lifted black F-150 with a custom decal package. He talks about his holdings the way some people talk about their personality, loudly, in the general direction of whoever's nearby. He's performing wealth carefully. At real expense, you showed up in the Ranger with the dented tailgate. Your jacket came from a farm supply store. Your watch tells time and nothing else. When he asks what you do, you say you own a few small operations. Storage, car washes, some other stuff. You watch him do the math in real time. The truck, the jacket, the storage lots. He smiles politely and pivots towards someone else. In his head, you've already been filed. Mid-tier, comfortable, not worth the full pitch. Good. That small dismissal is worth more than anything else that happens that night because the moment someone underestimates you, they stop watching you. And the moment they stop watching, you can do whatever you want. This is what people misread about staying quiet. They think it's modesty, some kind of enlightened detachment from status. Maybe for some people it is. For you, it's a strategy. The ordinary life is armor, and you put it on every day on purpose. The truck isn't a statement. It starts every morning, handles the miles, and draws zero attention in any parking lot in the country. The average new truck payment right now runs close to $780 a month. You paid cash for the Ranger 5 years ago and haven't spent a dollar on it beyond gas and oil. Every dollar not going to a payment goes somewhere that compounds. It's not complicated. It's just unfashionable. Your house is the same kind of quiet. A modest 4-bedroom on a half-acre outside town, bought 13 years ago, mortgage paid off 18 months back. The neighbors think you're a small business owner doing all right. They're not wrong. They're just missing several zeros. You don't correct them. Visibility, you've learned, is expensive in ways that have nothing to do with money. The second people know what you have, they stop relating to you and start relating to what you have. A second cousin you haven't spoken to in 6 years finds a reason to call. Someone from your gym mentions a can't-miss investment. Your brother-in-law starts talking about a deal that just needs a little seed money. You've watched money change the temperature of a room the second it becomes visible. It's rarely malicious. It's just what money does to the air around it once people can see it. Your closest friend is named Devin. You've known him since your 20s, coached his son's Little League team with him for 4 seasons, sat with him the week his father died. He's the kind of person who calls on a random Tuesday just to check in. No agenda. You don't have many friendships like that. And you know it. 4 months ago, Devin called with something underneath his voice. He'd spent 3 years building a small bakery with a loyal local following, and he wanted to open a second location across town. The numbers made sense. He needed $110,000. You could have sent it before he finished the sentence, from your phone, sitting in the truck outside a storage lot, without feeling it at all. $110,000 against your current cash flow is roughly 9 days of what the portfolio throws off. It isn't a sacrifice. It isn't even really a decision. But you didn't send it. You sat with the phone against your ear and felt the full weight of knowing exactly what you could do and choosing not to. It isn't guilt. It isn't withholding. It's the specific loneliness of understanding a situation more clearly than the person living it. Because money handed to someone who isn't structurally ready for it doesn't solve the problem. It accelerates whatever's already there. If the lease terms are bad, more capital just buys a faster, more expensive version of the same lesson. So instead, you asked Devin if you could come by that Saturday. You sat at his kitchen table with a notepad for 3 hours going through his numbers. You found a supplier contract quietly overcharging him by 12%. You asked about the new lease's personal guarantee clause and what happens if foot traffic comes in 25% under projection. He didn't have answers. Not because he wasn't sharp, but because nobody had ever asked him those questions before. You came back 3 more Saturdays. By the last one, he'd renegotiated the supplier contract, found a regional small business grant he qualified for, and restructured his opening timeline so he didn't need outside capital at all. He signed the new lease 5 weeks later. He called you the night he got the keys, voice a little thick, and said he couldn't have done it without you. You never told him what you could have written the check for. You probably never will. That's not humility. It's just an understanding of whose story it needed to be. But there are rooms in your life nobody gets to walk into, and that part doesn't get easier. Not the secrecy itself. You've made peace with that. It's the specific weight of watching someone you love struggle through something you could erase in 90 seconds and knowing that erasing it would be the wrong move. The armor works. The portfolio runs quiet and the number grows and nobody asks. But nobody sees it either, and some nights that's its own kind of cost. The text arrives at 6:48 a.m. on a Tuesday. You're standing in the checkout line at a farm supply store, not because you need to be there personally. You have people for most of this now, but because one of the car wash bays has a pump issue and the technician sent a photo and you were already out. You're holding a length of PVC pipe in one hand and your phone in the other when the message lands. It's from Renata. Subject line, if you could call it that, Q2 final. Take a look when you can. You almost pocket the phone, but a number in the preview stops you. You set the pipe down on the counter. You open the message and read it twice, slowly, the way you read something you're not sure you read correctly. Total verified net worth across all holdings has crossed $780 million. You stand there under the fluorescent lights. Somewhere behind you, a forklift beeps as it backs toward the loading dock. A man in a canvas jacket 2 feet away is comparing prices on fence posts. Nobody is looking at you. Nobody knows. The store doesn't know. The forklift doesn't know. The number exists in a text on a phone in the hand of a person holding a length of PVC pipe, trying to remember if the pump issue needs a new seal or a full replacement. This is the moment. Not a dinner, not a phone call telling you you've made it, just fluorescent light and the smell of fertilizer, and a number on a screen that accumulated quietly across 9 years of Tuesday observations and Sunday night arithmetic and Saturdays at other people's kitchen tables that nobody photographed. You thought it would feel different. You expected some shift in the air, a seam you could feel between before and after. There isn't one. There's just the checkout line and the forklift and Renata's message and the same quiet hum of a life that hasn't changed because a number changed. You text back 3 words. Thanks. Looks right. Then you pick the pipe back up, pay $38 in cash, and walk to the truck. 9 years ago, you netted $310 from a minority stake in a dozen storage units and sat with that number on a Sunday night, not knowing what to call the feeling. It wasn't pride, and it wasn't disappointment, and it wasn't enough to tell anyone about. This is the same feeling exactly, just with more zeros behind it, which means it was never about the number. It was about the architecture. The proof that a system you built keeps running the way you built it to run, without drama, without an audience, without anyone in the checkout line at a farm supply store having any idea. You start the engine. The pump at the car wash isn't going to fix itself. You drive back the same road you came in on, in the same truck with the same dented tailgate you still haven't fixed. Nothing about the outside of your life changed in the last 20 minutes, and nothing will change tomorrow either. The car wash opens at 7. Renata will send a follow-up about Q3 projections. Devin's second bakery will have a line by lunch. What's different is quieter than that. Somewhere in this ordinary week, you're going to watch someone spend money to look like they have it, and you're going to notice the way you couldn't have named 9 years ago that the performance of wealth and the architecture of it are rarely found in the same person at the same time. The knowing doesn't make Tuesday easier, but it does make you wonder what exactly you're building and for whom.